Hi, everyone. Great to be here. I think that was a bit of an introduction. For those of you that don't know me, I was actually born in India, and my family migrated to Australia when I was very young, and I did most of my education in Australia. And I did graduate in architecture. I think you mentioned that briefly, but I think it's important to know that I practiced that for about 15 years in Australia first before relocating to Thailand, where I've been here for about 17 years now, actually, and been doing hotels and resorts pretty well around the region. P49 is a hospitality specialist, and pretty well outside of Thailand, we are 100% hotels interior design only. So I believe I only have about 15, 20 minutes to talk to you today, so I'm going to get straight into it. So what I'd like to share with you today is how we at P49 approach the design of our hotels to ensure individuality and uniqueness. You know, there's so many new hotels being built these days. There's so many brands. There's so many things going on. Design style is becoming so international these days because of technology. So, you know, all the hotels seem to be morphing into a singular style. And so, you know, if you want to be noticed, it's important to get your design vision, you know, something that helps you differentiate from one thing to the next. So really, it's this issue that brings me to the key topic that I want to talk to you about today. So what drives character in hotels? How do you make your hotel different to the next one or more noticeable? You know, it's not good enough for a hotel these days just to be beautiful or good looking. How do you create hotels that are memorable? Hotels that make you want to come back, hotels that really have some kind of a soul. What influences us in trying to achieve this goal? Is it the site? Is it the location? Is it the culture? Is it the owner? Is it the brand? Was there a specific direction agreed with the owner in advance, or is it all of these things? An approach we at P49 use to help us design is we often create a master narrative or a storyline that runs through all aspects of the interior that seamlessly links areas through the hotel, so there's a common vision that runs through everything. The storyline is really something that's built or done through extensive research. The research is physical elements, contextual elements, historical elements. All of these things, you know, we do a lot of research first before we make any decisions. So in the time, I'm going to try and squeeze a couple of examples in today and show you the key drivers that pushed the design decisions for us and resulted in the storyline that was adopted and ultimately guided us towards our goal. I selected these two projects specifically because they both have actually very strong storylines, and they're both lifestyle branded hotels. Lifestyle hotels really are more suited to stronger storylines, and so that's the reason. It's really more like highlighting a point and a slightly extreme example. So the first hotel is a hotel in Hangzhou in China. It's the Renaissance. It's a multi-story building located within a very modern city. This area of China is very famous throughout China, actually, for its amazing natural scenery and beauty. So what you found is that, or what we found, sorry, is a lot of the other hotels in the area, they seem to focus on this natural scenery aspect, and we wanted to be different. So we created a storyline that would really differentiate us from all the other hotels nearby. So from our research, we decided to focus our narrative on one of the cultural aspects that came out of the research. We found that this area of China, you know, Hangzhou especially, is a region that's very famous for the Chinese Shaoxing opera, which originated in the early 1900s. So our narrative was based on the single idea of a guest's journey to the opera, where the entire hotel was designed as a series of elements or progression of events through the hotel of actually a night sort of going to the opera. So let me show you the narrative we prepared. And this was all done before we started any drawings, doing anything. So from the original document, this is, we did this a couple of years ago before the hotel even started construction. So it was really creating a journey for the guests through the hotel, and not really literal translations, but just giving ideas that help us bring something into the interior. So, as you come, this was really for the porte cochere area. It's something about bringing the energy of the city into the interior. So it's sort of the lights, the hustle and bustle. You then come into the lobby. The lobby was really like a prelude to the performance. It's like the lobby area. Before you then get to the lobby bar, every hotel's got a lobby bar, but this one, we were really trying to do it a bit like you have champagne and cocktails. It's the energy of the lobby bar coming through. Then for the ballroom, the function room, the meeting rooms, we were using, I notice a lot of those words are not coming up on the screen. For a lot of the function rooms we were using, for the ballroom, we actually used, it was as if it was the Grand Opera Hall. For the meeting rooms, we used it as the boxes. And then for the private rooms, it was all about like the green room and so forth. So for the boardrooms and other smaller meeting rooms. When we got to the F&B, we could have a little bit more fun with the interiors. So the idea we had for the main restaurant, or the 3-meal, was really to create something that was more of as if the guest was going backstage at the opera. The Chinese restaurant, this is a 2-story restaurant in the hotel. We decided to do that as if this was, the main act of the opera. So there's a very famous opera within Hangzhou, and it originated in this area. It was called the Butterfly Lovers. And that also came from our research. So the whole interior for this restaurant, when you come to the entry, it's the whole story of the butterfly lovers coming through. So it's a subplot within the overall plot. And then the specialty, which is on the top floor, it's actually a Japanese restaurant. We created, it was almost like the drama of the finale, the final act in the opera. And this was, very dramatic. And so the whole scene was set on the waterfront. And we basically, everything was a little bit rough and almost like mafia-like. So, it's a lot of attitude, a lot of energy coming into this. When we get to the actual guest rooms and the suites, we treated that as if it was the performer's retreat. So this is where they go prior to putting on their makeup. They use the room to put on their makeup, and this is where they come back to kind of wind down. And so these are all sort of subtle little themes that happen. So as you can see, what we did was create individual personalities for each area within the hotel, but all within the umbrella of the master narrative. So let's have a look at how this actually translated in real life. So I took this photo maybe about 7-8 weeks ago. The hotel's under construction. It's due to open in about 3 weeks from now. So as you come in, this is the main thing you'll see as you come through the hotel entry door. The installation in the ceiling is really representing, the chaos of the city. It's all connected to computers, and it actually senses movement. So as the lobby gets busier, the lighting gets busier as well. Just to the right is reception. That ceiling installation runs all the way through the space. Behind the reception desks over there, we've got floor-to-ceiling LEDs. And what those LEDs show is really they capture the movement of the opera, but we're going to do that in a slow motion. So it's reminiscent. It's always something subliminal about the opera going in. It's nothing, we're not trying to be literal. It's really trying to be creative in terms of our story. Just to the left of that lobby, was what's called the R bar. It's basically the lobby bar. And then when you get to the main restaurant, the all-day dining, so this is, was the concept of backstage. So as you can see, we're using backstage lighting, clapperboards, just having fun with it. The screens we designed, they all look like scaffolding. Everything has a backstage or has an inspiration from backstage. But actually, at the end of the day, it's quite a fun contemporary interior. Chinese restaurant, this is the a la carte section. And the private rooms. This is on the second floor. And then on the top floor, we've got the Japanese restaurant. So this is much more industrial. We actually we created the concept because the cross bracing and the steel beams were already in the structure. So we created a concept to work with the limitations of the space. And actually, to enter this restaurant, you've got to walk through shipping containers. And it's only about 1.5 meters wide. So instead of these grand entries, it's really about trying to make something, feel special and, a little bit more interesting. At the end of the day, F&B doesn't need to be part of the hotel, even though it could be, sourced or outsourced. It still has to feel, the guest still needs to feel like it's a specialty, whether it's the normal restaurant or the specialty. And this is just a typical guest room. So subtle touches, in the mirror, it's about doing makeup for the performer, but actually it's just functional lighting. So that's it. Renaissance Hangzhou, about to open in 4 weeks. I'm actually going there on Monday, so I'll report to you after that for the pre-inspection. The next one is in Sanya, in China. This is in Dadonghai Bay, Hainan Island. It's an autograph collection hotel. And it's actually named the Shanghai Tian. It's a multi-story hotel, but it's located on the beach. So, we've got this city kind of vibe, but actually it's right on the sand. If you don't know Sanya or Hainan Island in China, it's basically the Hawaii of China and has many high-quality hotels and resorts. And so it's a really, really competitive market. And everything there is a bit, pushed towards extreme limits. So it's extremely difficult, to be special or stand out. But that makes it even more important to stand out, especially China's a unique beast. It's, everything's pushed further. It's bigger and better. So when we started this project, we had a very strong architectural concept, already in place. The architecture was done by WOW Architects, and they had a water-inspired concept. Their narrative and the whole philosophy of their building was based on ripples, waves, bubbles, and the general effect of water on sand. So that was one thing we had. We also had another thing that we had, in front of us as part of a requirement. All autograph collection hotels have, as part of their brief, a DNA that is unique to that hotel. No two autograph collection hotels are the same. So with this project, as with all autograph collection, there's a branding company. It's employed to create a new DNA for each autograph collection hotel. So with this one, it was written by a company called Mark and Chantal Design. They basically created this branding, which, holiday in vogue, where fashion is celebrated, style is instinctive, and resort glamour never looks so good. So that's just a summary of a whole document that they prepared, but that's the essence of what the hotel was for the guests. So basically, the branding was clearly based on a young, stylish, fashion-focused guest profile. So the thing that we had before I even started work was really a very, very strong architectural concept, and then this other idea of fashion. And both these ideas were already deeply embedded in the project before we even started. So what we ended up doing is we ended up taking on board both these narratives, and sort of which gave the hotel a little bit of a dual personality. So for the public areas, we predominantly had a water inspiration from the architecture, which carried through, and then we inserted a secondary layer of the fashion into the public spaces. For the guest rooms, which was a tower concept, we created a totally different idea that really referenced the brand DNA exactly. So split personality, podium, water-inspired, tower, fashion-inspired. So this was the original concept when we started the project from the architect. I just wanted to show you this. So the concept was very strong. It was embraced by the landscape team. It was embraced by the lighting team. So this is another thing I took on my iPhone. So sorry for the resolution, but you know, the whole hotel has projectors that shine on the whole hotel, and it just looks like floating water at nighttime. So you know, it's a really strong concept. So you come to the interior, we really wanted to let the architecture come in and be seamless from the exterior to the interior. So a lot of our elements to do with, you know, tidal flow, the ripples are in water. You can look at our ceilings. They're all contoured. The colors are all based on sand. This is actually the reception zone. To the right, we've got the main restaurant, all-day dining. So that floor-to-ceiling, you know, is reminiscent of how light shines on water and the colors that it reflects. The ceiling installation, same thing. It's inspired by water. It's a mirror of polish. It's a mix of polished stainless and glass. And then the whole bulkhead you see on the left-hand side, it's over 40 meters long that wraps around the whole extent. We've actually got it done in back-to-back projectors. So the entire bulkhead is linked with projectors that sets the scene from day to night. So actually in the daytime, what we do is we've set it up so that it has a more like a vibe that suits the resort atmosphere for the daytime. So we're going to do slow motion water and bubbles and things like that work with the architectural concept. But then as the hotel gets towards the evening, we change the pace, we change the vibe of the hotel a little bit, and we're going to do more things to do with fashion and sort of upmarket kind of projections. Another little thing, so this is again from my phone, so everything's from my phone, everything's on my site visits. Let me hope this works. Yeah, so this is a test we were doing before before the hotel opened. So the kind of projections, if you imagine that's going around 40 meters of the space in the daytime, and in the evening it's more fashion parades, things like that, much more high energy things going on. So back into the interior, the ceilings, you can see where the inspiration's coming on. Over here, reflective materials in the ceilings with hammered finishes, so they look like water. The contours of the ceiling represent water, and the whole color scheme, it's very distressed, very kind of sand-oriented. No shiny surfaces, really, on the floors in this hotel. It's all matte finish. Yeah, and one of the bars, there's more than one. So that was the main podium. When we came to the tower, we were focusing on the really the pure brand DNA of the hotel. So for the guest rooms, designs were inspired basically by color schemes. We would be associated with certain fashion legends. And instead of, we didn't want to do a hotel that was a fashion hotel. It was, the brand DNA was really about being stylish and chic. So we just wanted to have a little bit of fun with it without being too crazy. So what we did is we decided to take the essence of what we felt was color schemes that we'd associate with famous fashion designers. So, we took 4 fashion designers. We're not saying we're doing their brand of fashion. We're just interpreting what we thought their color schemes were about. So with Chanel, it was basically more of a black and white color scheme. So this is a standard room. And for the whole tower, the rooms are the same, we just use different color schemes to make totally different aesthetics from scheme to scheme. So you could be side by side with another room, a totally different scheme. So this is the black and white, which, we don't use the words, any of the fashion designers' names. So this one is actually called French Chic. And the bathroom. Then when we get to this one, we call Italian Elegance. And this is what they use in the branding as well now. So same room, just different color scheme. This one is American Midwest. It's based on leather and wood. And then finally, we've got something a bit more eclectic with color. This one we call British Fabulous. So these are simple ways to have a little bit of fun, and you could link that back to storylines in when the guest checks in. It lets them know there's something going on. So that was our narrative, Fashion Meets the Sea. So as you can see for us at P49, having a strong storyline or a narrative is an important design tool that helps lead us towards more unique solutions with stronger character. Ultimately, our main intention is to create hotels that are memorable and have a soul and make you want to come back. Thank you.